All right, let's get into it. Today, we're talking about a book that pretty much flipped the entire world of dating advice on its head. I'm talking about Mark Manson's Models. The whole idea is that the real key to attraction isn't about memorizing lines or learning tricks, but about something way more real, just being brutally honest. Okay, so right off the bat, Manson lays out two totally different paths you can take. On one hand, you've got the whole world of dating tactics. You know what I'm talking about. It's all clever lines, putting on a performance, and just living in constant fear of getting rejected. But then, there's the other path, honest attraction. This is a complete 180. It's about expressing who you really are, being vulnerable, and get this, understanding that having some people not like you is actually a good thing. It's a huge shift from just acting the part to actually being the part.
So let's talk about that first path for a second. Why does this whole performance-based approach, what a lot of people call game, why does it almost always fall apart in the long run? Well, Manson's argument is pretty simple. It's like trying to build a house on a foundation of sand. It just creates a trap you can't escape from. And the book gives this perfect example to show us what that looks like. Let's meet a guy named Daniel. He's fed up with being rejected, right? So he does what a lot of guys do. He grabs a book on pickup artistry and starts cramming, memorizing all these lines and tactics. And here's the thing. At first, it seems to work like a charm. He's out there using the lines, he gets a number from a woman named Stacy, and they even end up hooking up. He gets this huge rush of validation he's been chasing for so long, and he's thinking, yes, I've finally cracked the code. But we all know you can't keep up an act forever. Pretty soon, the real Daniel, the one with all the insecurities and that deep need for her approval, starts to, well, leak out. He starts agreeing with everything she says just to avoid any conflict. And all those clever, pre-scripted lines, he runs out of them. Suddenly, he has nothing real to talk about, and that cool, confident guy she first met just vanishes. And just like that, the whole connection just fizzles. Stacy pulls away. And why wouldn't she? The attraction wasn't for the real Daniel, it was for the character he was playing. You see, the tactics were just a band-aid. They covered up his insecurity for a little while, but they did absolutely nothing to actually heal it. So, Daniel's story really drives home why a performance is destined to fail, which begs the question, what's the alternative? Well, according to Manson, it all starts with completely rethinking what confidence even is. See, a lot of us confuse real confidence with what Manson would actually call narcissism. It's that kind of confidence that's all about impressing other people and getting their validation. It's incredibly fragile because it depends entirely on what other people think of you. Just think back to Daniel, right? He only felt good about himself after Stacy approved of him. That, my friends, is the definition of neediness. Real confidence, though, it's the exact opposite. Manson has a great term for it, non-neediness. This is a confidence that comes from the inside out. It's when your own opinion of yourself matters more than anyone else's. And it's not about thinking you're perfect or the best, not at all. It's just about accepting yourself, warts and all. And this quote right here, it just flips the whole script on its head. The needy person is always thinking, how can I engineer the perfect date to impress her? It's all about performance. But the non-needy person, they're thinking, hey, if she's the right person for me, she'll like me for me, not for some perfectly planned out evening. It's a total game changer, shifting from please like me to this is me. Just look at the difference in the internal chatter here. The needy brain is screaming, oh God, I hope she doesn't reject me. It's all driven by fear. But the non-needy brain, it's just curious. It's thinking, I wonder if we're a good match. See the difference? One is a desperate play for validation, while the other is a calm quest for compatibility. Okay, and this non-needy mindset, it leads us to maybe the most powerful and honestly liberating idea in the entire book. And that's a completely new way of looking at rejection. I mean, just think about it. Your favorite band. Some people love them, some people can't stand them. That movie you think is a masterpiece, your friend thinks it's trash. The point is, anything that's truly interesting or attractive is going to be polarizing. And Manson's big argument is that attraction works the exact same way. If you try to be vanilla enough for everyone to like you, well, then nobody's going to love you. So polarization is really just what happens when you're genuinely yourself. When you share your actual opinions, your quirky sense of humor, what you truly believe in. Some people are going to be super drawn to that, and others are going to be turned off. And here's the kicker. According to Manson, that's not a bug. It's a feature. That's the whole point. It's the best filter you could ever ask for to find the people who are right for you. And this is where the magic happens. This is the mind shift that can change everything for you. Rejection stops being about your worth. It's no longer failure. It's just information. It's a simple data point that says, hey, we're not compatible. And think about it. Finding that out sooner rather than later, that's not a loss. That is a massive win. Seriously, when a woman says no, it could be for any number of reasons that have absolutely zero to do with you personally. Maybe your values are just on different planets. Maybe she literally just broke up with her boyfriend 5 minutes ago. Maybe her dog just died. You never know. The point is, all it means is that you're not a match, and that's okay. It just saved both of you a whole lot of time.
Okay, so we've got the non-needy mindset, and we're using rejection as a filter through polarization. But what's the engine that actually drives this whole thing? Well, Manson says it all comes down to two crucial ingredients: honesty and vulnerability. Now, let's be real. When most of us hear the word vulnerability, we think of weakness. But in Manson's model, it's the ultimate sign of strength. It's the pinnacle of non-neediness. It's having the guts to just put it all out there and say, look, this is me. This is what I want. This is what I'm scared of. Take it or leave it. There is no more authentic way to communicate than that. And Manson tells this incredible personal story about a woman he was dating named Kate. He was feeling really insecure and just wasn't ready to be intimate with her yet. Now, the old game playbook would say you have to fake it, right? But he did the opposite. He broke every so-called rule in the book and just told her the truth. He admitted how he was feeling and asked if they could slow things down. So what was the result of this supposedly weak move? It completely proves his point. His vulnerability didn't scare her off. It actually pulled her in closer. It laid the foundation for a really amazing relationship that was built on actual, genuine trust. That one single, honest moment was more powerful and more attractive than 1,000 clever pickup lines. So really, this whole approach can be boiled down to a simple 3-step process. Step 1, figure out your truth. Do the work, look inward, and understand who you are, your values, your flaws, the whole deal. Step 2, express that truth. Communicate who you are with vulnerability and that non-needy attitude. And finally, step 3, just let attraction happen. Let polarization do its thing, filtering out the wrong people and naturally drawing in the right ones. So we've covered the internal mindset shift, which is huge. But how does that actually show up in the real world? This takes us to the practical, boots-on-the-ground part of the book. The 3 fundamentals. You have to understand this because it's the core idea that everything else in the book is built on. This isn't just about dating. It's a blueprint for how you live your life. Now, this is where Manson's core argument really flips the script on most dating advice. He says true attraction isn't something you do in a single moment. It's a side effect of who you are. It all boils down to expressing your authentic self through these 3 pillars you see right here: living honestly, acting honestly, and communicating honestly. So, why is this so foundational? Well, think about it. Your day-to-day life is the ultimate billboard for your values. When you build a life that you genuinely love, one that you've chosen for yourself, you just radiate this non-needy confidence. It's naturally attractive because you're not trying to escape from your own life. Okay, so once you start getting your own life in order, the next big realization is this: you are not for everyone. And that's a good thing. This section is all about finding the right people, not trying to be the right person for everybody. The big idea here is that attraction isn't universal. It's niche. Manson calls this your demographic, that small slice of the world that just gets you, that resonates with your values and your maturity level. So instead of trying to change yourself to get someone's approval, you double down on enriching your own life. That way, you'll naturally attract the people who already value what you're about. And this story about John and Jenna, it's a perfect example of what we're talking about. At first, they are a complete mismatch. Different worlds, different priorities. But fast forward 2 years, after both of them have grown and invested in themselves, their demographics shift. Suddenly, they've got common ground. It shows that compatibility isn't just about who you are, but also when you are in your life. Look, it doesn't matter how smooth you think you are. Some things are just deal breakers. Manson calls these sources of friction. It could be a massive difference in values, totally different life goals, or just plain old bad logistics, like living on opposite sides of the planet. Recognizing this stuff early saves you from trying to force something that just isn't there. Okay, so we've talked about the internal stuff, but let's be real. How you show up in the world matters. A lot. This is about taking that internal self-investment and making sure it's reflected on the outside. And this quote right here, it points to what Manson says is a huge advantage for guys. We can spend so much time worrying about things we can't change,
like our height. But he argues that women are way more responsive to things we can control, like our style and grooming. Putting in a little effort here can give you a massive boost in how you're perceived. I mean, take a look at this. It sounds so simple, right? The fit of your jeans. But wearing clothes that are too baggy sends a subconscious signal that you don't really pay attention to the details, that maybe you don't invest in yourself. It's a really small thing that tells a much bigger story. So how do you fix this without becoming a fashion expert? Well, Manson's solution is genius in its simplicity. He basically suggests building a modular wardrobe. Get a black set of essentials, shoes, belt, jacket, and a brown set. Then, with a solid base of good jeans and shirts, you can mix and match pretty much endlessly and always look sharp. It's a system, not a closet full of random clothes. But you know, it's not just about the clothes. Your body language is shouting things about you all the time. Manson gives this super simple, conscious checklist to practice confident posture. Shoulders back, chin up, all of it. Yeah, it's going to feel a little weird and unnatural at first, but by physically practicing it, you actually start to change how you feel on the inside. All right, let's go deeper. Because you can have the best clothes, the best body language, the perfect life. But if your own head is working against you, none of it matters. This is the real battleground. So, what are the stories you're telling yourself? You know, the moment you see someone you're attracted to, what's that little voice in your head say? Oh, she's out of my league, or I'm not her type, or maybe, I'm too busy anyway. Manson says we have to get real and confront these excuses we make for not taking action. And what are these stories, really? They're just your ego's little bodyguards trying to protect you from getting hurt, from feeling rejected. Your anxiety about getting shot down might disguise itself as apathy. I don't even care. Or even arrogance. She's not good enough for me. But it's all just fear wearing different masks. And to show you he's not just pointing fingers, Manson shares his own BS story. This arrogant little line you see here was his mind's clever way of protecting him from feeling vulnerable. His point is, we're all, in his words, full of shit sometimes. The trick is just catching yourself in the act. Okay, so we all have this baggage. We all have these fears. What's the move? Well, this last part is all about action. And it's not about getting rid of your fear. It's about learning to move forward with it. And this is maybe the biggest mindset shift in the whole book. The goal is not to become fearless. That's impossible. Fear is a normal human thing. The real skill, the real courage, is learning to function while you're scared. And one of the most powerful ways to do that is to make this mental switch you see here from blame to responsibility. Blaming stuff outside yourself, like the women in my town are cold, makes you a victim. You have no power. But taking responsibility, asking yourself, am I willing to put in the effort to find someone who isn't? That puts you back in the driver's seat. It's your life, your choice. You got to think of courage like a muscle. It's not some magical trait you either have or you don't. It's something you build, rep by rep. Every tiny little action where you feel that fear and you push through it anyway, that's a rep at the gym for your courage muscle. And over time, you get incredibly strong. Now we're getting to the really important part. How do you take that spark and build it into something real, something that lasts? Look, getting someone's attention, creating that initial spark, that's one thing. But we all know the real challenge is turning it into a stable, lasting flame. So how do you actually go from just being attractive to building a genuine connection? You can think of it like this. We've already laid the foundation with what Manson calls honest living and honest action. That's all about building a life you're actually proud of and having the courage to go after what you want. But the foundation is just the start. The final part, honest communication, is how we build the rest of the house. This is where it all comes together. Okay, let's dive right in because this might be the single most important idea in the whole book when it comes to talking to people. It's the concept that why you're saying something is way, way more powerful than what you're actually saying. This really gets to the core of what Manson calls subcommunication. You could say the smoothest, most perfect line, but if your intention underneath is needy or you're just looking for approval, guess what? That's the real message she's going to hear. On the flip side, you could say something kind of goofy or simple, but if it comes from a place of confidence and playfulness, that's what's actually being communicated. And this right here, this highlights a classic reason for miscommunication. Manson points out that guys often communicate on a very literal, factual level. You know, I'll see you at 6 p.m. is just a piece of information. But women are often much more tuned into the subcommunication, the feelings and the intentions behind the words. So a phrase like, I hate when you're out, might not be a literal attack. It could be her way of saying,
I feel lonely or I miss you. Getting that difference is an absolute game changer. So what happens when we do the opposite? What are the consequences when we avoid that kind of honest, polarizing communication? Well, the book gives us this really powerful case study about a couple named Ryan and Jane, and it shows just how easily a great connection can just fade away. And what's so important to see here is that their relationship didn't blow up because of one huge fight. It wasn't some big dramatic event. It was a slow decay. Ryan stopped living by the values that made him attractive in the first place, and he became needy, relying on Jane for all his happiness. They stopped having the hard, honest conversations, and the connection just slowly rotted from the inside out.
So how do we make sure that doesn't happen to us? Manson actually gives us a pretty clear roadmap to move past boring, surface-level chat. Stop asking a million interview questions. Instead, make statements. Share your world. You can try cold reads, making fun, educated guesses about her. Tell compelling stories. And most importantly, share your truths. Talk about your real passions, your dreams, your fears. The whole point is to invite her into your world instead of trying to interrogate her about hers.
Okay, let's talk about the final piece of this whole communication puzzle, and it's a big one: physicality and sex. Manson's approach here is all about completely reframing the way we think about physical intimacy.
Now, this is a massive shift from a lot of the dating advice out there. The book argues that when you treat sex like a goal, like some prize you have to win, you just create pressure and neediness, which are, you guessed it, totally unattractive. Instead, sex should be seen as the ultimate expression of an emotional connection that you've already built. It's not the destination, it's the natural result of real intimacy. And man, this quote just nails it, especially from a woman's perspective. It shows that it's not about how many dates you've been on or some arbitrary timeline. It's all about the depth of the emotional trust you've built. When that foundation of genuine care and connection is there, physicality is just a natural, beautiful thing. When it's not, it can lead to some serious regret. And this is how you build that trust. See, the specific facts of your lives might be totally different. Maybe she grew up in a big city and you grew up on a farm. Who cares? The feelings are universal. Everybody knows what it feels like to be ambitious or to feel shame or loneliness or love. When you can connect on that deep emotional level, you create a bond that is just incredibly powerful. So after covering the whole spectrum, honest living, honest action, and honest communication, let's bring it all home. What does it actually mean to become a model in the way that Manson defines it? It really all comes down to this one crucial difference: the performer versus the model. The performer is playing a role. He's using tactics and lines to seem cool, but secretly, he's just looking for validation. The model, on the other hand, is cool. His validation comes from inside himself. He's authentic, he's vulnerable, and he doesn't see rejection as some personal failure, but just as a sign of incompatibility. One is a fragile act, and the other is a rock-solid identity. And that, right there, is the single biggest message of this entire book. The goal isn't to learn better lines or tricks. The goal is to become a better, more honest version of yourself. When you invest in your own life, live by your values, and communicate with vulnerability, attraction stops being something you have to chase. It just becomes a natural reflection of who you are. And that's the final question the book leaves us with, and it's a really powerful one to think about. Because at the end of the day, the quality of the people you attract into your life is a direct mirror of the person you are. A look into models. Attract Women Through Honesty gives you the insight, but the full book gives you the breakthrough. If you're ready to master your own mind, the link is in the description. Share this with someone who is also building their best self. Then like and subscribe to keep gaining clarity.